Deputy Speaker. I acknowledge that this Parliament sits on the lands of the Ngunnawal and the Ngambri peoples, and I honour their ongoing contributions of all First Nation elders, past and present, that are part of the world's oldest continuing culture resident here in our nation. We're remembering the apology, that amazing speech given by Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, and it was a seminal moment in our nation. I remember it mostly for the impact that it had. When I saw Kevin come up to Darwin, to Royal Darwin Hospital, and there are lots of countrymen out the front, as there often is. Lots of First Nations elders that have come in from communities, either for health treatment themselves or to visit loved ones, to support their friends and family. And I'd been working with Jose Ramos-Horta, the former president of Timor-Leste, at around the time that he survived an assassination attempt. So we brought him back to Royal Darwin Hospital. Kevin Rudd, as Prime Minister, new Prime Minister, had come up to Darwin to see Jose. And as we went in the doors of the Royal Darwin Hospital, out the front, as I said, those elders, and they just said, "Thanks, Kevin. Good on you, Kevin." And it was without fanfare. There were no cameras. It was from the heart, and it was just expressing that bit of relief, a bit of joy, a bit of gratitude that someone had extended that apology on behalf of our nation. And it was something I will never forget. Never forget. It was beautiful, and it showed that we, as a nation, that we had heard the apology as a nation, and that we were proud of it as a nation that it had been done. Of course, we kind of wondered why it took that long, what deficiency of humility, of grace, had led to such a delay in the extension of that apology. But it was a wonderful, wonderful moment. If I, as others have done, reflect on some personal experiences in the late 70s, I suppose. I was a young fella, maybe, I can't remember the year exactly, but it was maybe in the early 80s. But a school friend of mine had, his parents had gone to work on an Aboriginal mission in the wheat belt of WA, a little place called Tarden, near Mullawa. And so I went over there to visit my friend. I think it was the first time I'd ever been on a plane from Melbourne over to Perth, and then by road up to this mission. And so it was my first experience with Aboriginal people over in WA. These kids were amazing sportsmen, sportswomen, sports boys and girls. They were incredible. And it was a great experience to be out with them on their country. I was going to a high school in Healesville, in the hills north of Melbourne, which of course is where Corranderk was. And we had some Aboriginal kids at St Bridget's Catholic Primary School, but I hadn't really connected. But being out on this mission, I saw what I thought at that time seemed to be working for everyone. But of course, in time and in maturity, you realise that whilst an education is important, being with your family is incredibly important. And as I moved to the Territory and met so many other members of a stolen generation, gained a fuller appreciation for this trans or intergenerational trauma and harm caused by the separation. So that's why I was really keenly accepted in the gratitude and humility in which former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd offered that apology on behalf of the nation, because in the top end there are lots of people who have had that experience and their families have been taken away. And Shadow Minister for Indigenous Affairs Linda Burney articulated that incredibly well in her speech following the Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition speech in this place. When the member for Barton, Shadow Minister for Indigenous Affairs, during her speech was acknowledging some of the First Nations members in this place, including Senator Malarndirri McCarthy and Senator Pat Dodson from the Labor Party. She also mentioned former Senator Nova Peris, who, when she joined the Senate, was the first First Nations woman elected to our Parliament. And I had the good fortune to work with Nova for a period. So I report to the House at Post Politics. Nova's doing incredibly well. She's established the Nova Peris Foundation. Of course, her family obviously had connections with being part of the stolen generation. So very real for people in the top end. But Nova has established the Nova Peris Foundation. She's doing some project work with the Tiwi Islands. The Royal Australian Navy recently had commissioned the new ship Arafura down in Adelaide, which I think is extremely appropriate. And she can take or feel very proud that she played a strong role in that campaign to free the Aboriginal flag. So yeah, well done, Nova. A bit of an update for the House. But so many have been touched in the top end, as I said, and what Paul Keating knew was the power in his speech 30 years ago in Redfern, the power of truth on our reconciliation journey. So I hope that hope that we are able to institute, following the Uluru Statement from the Heart, the voice, treaty and truth. We will have that opportunity to bring about further healing, and also through practical action, not just, but in health and housing in particular. When Kevin Rudd delivered the apology, people got to know Lorna Fijo, who's the mum of a good friend of mine, Richie Fijo and the others. And a couple of years ago, when Lorna had a significant birthday, we lined up a call so that Kevin could wish Lorna Fijo a happy birthday. It was a beautiful moment. And back then in 2011, when Kevin delivered the apology, he said to Lorna, "Do I call you Auntie?" And she said, "No, you can call me by my skin name, Kevin. Nangala. Nana Nangala." Nana Nangala, Lorna Fijo is unwell at the moment, and we send you our love and appreciation and the respect of this House.